We use this tense to describe actions, events and situations we have made in the past.
Now it's time for the grammar. And today's grammar is past tense questions with did, was, or were. Okay, so in a past tense question, we need to use did, or was, or were. So when do we use did, and when do we use was and were? Well, first, did we use for questions about action. Action. So, was we use for questions about description. So what's the difference between a question about action and a question about description? Well, let's look at this example. The verb grow up. Grow up is this action. And if I want to ask a question about this action, I need to use did. For example, where did you grow up? So, when I use the verb, the action, when I ask a question about the verb or the action, I need to use did for the auxiliary. So did is only for verbs, when I use a verb in the question. Now, was and were is different, because it's a question about description. So if I want to know your house location when you were young, I would use was and were, because it's a question about a description. So I'd say, where was your house? Where was your house? Now notice when I use was or were, there is no other verb in the question. It's the only verb. This is not a question about action, it's a question about description. So was and were are the only verbs. Remember, did is for action, so we use did when we ask a question about the verb, about the action. Where did you grow up? And was and were are questions about description. It's the only verb in the question. For example, where was your house? Very good. So be careful. Remember, when we use was, it's only for the subjects I, he, she, and it, the singular subjects. And with the subjects you, we, and they, the plural subjects, we use were. Another thing to think about is that when we use the verb be in the past tense, we do not use did. Did and be are never in the same sentence. No. So, in the past tense question, you cannot use did when the main verb is be. We use the past tense of be. Were you in class yesterday? And it's the only verb in the sentence.
If you take an E and you add a D, you will get me. I go at the end and I will send words into the past. Just give me a word, it must be a verb, and you will see that I will take it into the past. I am so fast, you see I am Ed, time traveler Ed. That's what I said.
Here is our weekly roundup of the weekend's events in our town. Did you miss anything good? Listen to our reporter's opinions. Here's our sports reporter, John Everett.
The tickets were expensive for an important football game between the Rovers and the Blues, and I don't think people got their money's worth. The game was very slow. I thought that the players weren't very professional, and they didn't play very hard. The teams were out for an afternoon jog. Also, the referee was terrible. He stopped the play for every little thing. The final score was 1-0 for the Rovers.
And now, our restaurant critic, Peter Nelson.
There were over 50 hungry customers at Evergreen waiting for the new vegetarian restaurant to open its doors. It was clear that the restaurant didn't expect so many people. Some customers waited half an hour just for the server to take their order. When the food finally came, it was cold and tasteless. And there were no more daily specials after the first hour. Customers were really disappointed.
And now, our cultural events reporter, Leonard Appleton.
The Modern Art Museum gathered works of artists from many countries for its new exhibit. For example, there were keys, a microwave oven, a mirror, a toothbrush, and a refrigerator. Each item was in a separate glass box. The items reminded me of my kitchen, and that's where you need to stay. Stay home. Don't go to this exhibit.
And now, our shopping advisor, Rena Redman.
This weekend, the new 5 Stars shopping mall opened to thousands of excited customers. There were over 350 stores and services, and a huge food court with a variety of ethnic foods. It had all the conveniences for customers, including a huge parking lot and air conditioning. The mall was bright and cheerful, with modern colors and tropical plants everywhere. There was also a beautiful aquarium with exotic fish and an art exhibit for visitors to enjoy. And best of all was the friendly and helpful service. Liked, liked. Missed, missed. Watched, watched.
D, d, d. Played, played. Happened, happened. Jogged, jogged.
Id, id, id. Visited, visited. Needed, needed. Invited, invited.